fake good announcers roll with it.
This is how we make a difference. We have to do the groundwork. We have to roll up our sleeves, not just because it's hot, but because we got work to do this election. Again, I'm James Sceniak, and I'm your U.S. Senate candidate for the against Todd Young. I could try to be as loud as Rainwater, but I don't quite have his voice, so I prefer Mike. We have a lot of things we need to make a difference on this election. Who thinks that the policies of Washington are stale and invasive? There's a lot of hands going up. We need a fresh approach to how we handle politics in Washington, D.C. I'm running on a fresh, modern approach that will bring real change to you and better represent you and your voice in Washington. Todd Young, this week, made it clear that he does not care about your voice or your rights. Our Constitution is at stake. They are fighting tooth and nail to take away your individual rights. Because when our forefathers set up this country, they put in place checks and balances. And the most important check and balance that they put in place was that the power belonged with the people. Our elected politicians are only supposed to represent our voice, nothing more. They're not supposed to increase the power in Washington, D.C. They're supposed to represent you. I'm running on three things. One, fiscal sanity. People ask, I don't want a Democrat in because that's worse than a Republican. But I ask you right now, if I told you someone was spending more than Bernie Sanders, would you say that's a Republican? That's Todd Young. He's wasting money in Washington, D.C. He's worse than a Democrat on spending. We need fiscal sanity in Washington, D.C. Todd Young does not bring that. The second thing I'm running on is medical freedom. Medical freedom is something that Washington politicians are trying to take away from you. Medical decisions belong to you and only you and your trusted physician. Whenever you go to your medical cabinet and you pull out a pill bottle, there's side effects. There's very real consequences with whatever medical decision you're making. Politicians cannot make those choices for you. Washington cannot make those choices for you. Those are individual decisions. The third thing that I'm running on is my vet care program. And I want you to hear this right now. We as a nation are not taking care of our veterans. We see high suicide rates. We see homeless rates. We see them not supporting reentry into civilian life. Our veterans fought for our freedom. It's time we take care of them. Washington doesn't take care of our veterans. Todd Young doesn't take care of our veterans. The VA does not take care of our veterans. My vet care program is designed to take care of veterans. It utilizes, who's heard of a health savings account? It's pretty common, but it utilizes something very similar to a health savings account called a Veterans Personal Care Account. And what it does is, it takes that wasted funding from the VA and gives veterans rights and direct money for their medical care, so that they can choose whatever physician best meets their needs and whatever location is most convenient for them. So I've been all the way across Indiana doing these town halls, and just this week, Tom McDermott stated, I don't believe in the Second Amendment rights, that we can't put lots of restrictions on it. And I'll give the example. I don't believe your First Amendment rights belong to you. I think we can restrict those as well. And he gave his examples. He doesn't believe in your First Amendment rights or Second Amendment rights. That's the Democrats. We all know that they never represented our constitutional rights. Now the Republicans, Todd Young this week voted on red flag laws. He said, look, I know you're 18. I'm more than willing to go in your schools and recruit you for war, but you can't be trusted with a gun. It's a double standard that Washington is placing on our society. The laws and the regulations are infringing our rights. And Todd Young doesn't care about those rights. There's only one candidate in this Senate race that will stand on your constitutional rights. And that's the Libertarian candidate, and that's me, and that's my promise. I will hear your voice in Washington, D.C. If you want to vote, if you want a difference, vote different. If you want a Republican that's worse than Democrats, just because you don't want Democrats, that's on you. But I believe we can do better, and we need to do better. This is an important year, and it's the year that we need to stand for our individual rights, our God-given rights. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And let's celebrate freedom today.